All right. Yeah. Episode 3. My name's Peter Stoltzman.
Hey, I'm Solomon Chapman.
And yeah, this is Gospel Meets Jazz. So, in our first episode, we explored some music that brings us hope. Uh, in our last episode, we explored some music that we're checking out.
Yeah.
And in this episode, we're each bringing an original tune to the table to share with each other and with you, whoever this is who's watching. All right. So Solomon, you want to go first, man?
I would love to go first.
Great.
Yeah. Uh, so the tune that I'm bringing in is actually a tune that I'll be recording in a couple months
Mm.
for this record I have to put out by July. Pathways to Jazz,
Yeah.
2019 gave me a grant. And with everything that transpired in 2020, they're gracious enough to extend the deadline a little bit. So I'm going to I'm excited to play with an awesome group of musicians. And this tune specifically that I'm bringing in is something that you and I had revisited or like worked on in one of our lessons when I was formally
Yeah.
studying with you. And so it's been evolving since it first was written in about 2016 to like what it is now. Um, so I'd like to just play like the head. I won't even solo over it. I'll just play the head, and then I'll kind of talk about how it's evolved into what it is today. And you can hear that okay, right? Cool. I'm gonna mute my mic so you don't hear keys clicking. Yeah, that's the piece to pray.
Wow, man. That's the head.
That's the head.
Man, it's
But that's the
intricate. It's
only thing.
beautiful.
That's no other sections to it.
Oh, really? You're not going to improvise?
Oh, I mean, I'll improvise on it,
Okay,
but
okay.
yeah, there's no like, yeah, it's just one big thing. Would you like to see the chart? I'm sorry.
Yes,
I
yes,
know
please.
what would have been. Yeah. And so let me just play
Nice.
just the first five, no, let's first 8 bars of what it used to be. Uh, that's what it started off with.
Mm,
Um, and then I was like experimenting with different chords. It's like, man, I
mm,
want more harmonic
mm,
movement. It feels like C minor a lot of times, and it kind of has this
mm, mm.
18th century common practice harmony attached to it.
Yeah, I love it. I love that shit. Reg,
But I was like,
I
yeah,
love it.
let me just try something different. So then it was this when I brought it to you a couple years ago.
Oh, yes,
Like that.
yes.
Which is also cool. But if it were just a composition, I feel like I'd feel more comfortable with the chords. But there was so much harmony to navigate that it would seem a little too weird to blow over. And so I had to find something that felt like it was moving so as to not feel monotonous, but then not moving too much so as to feel random.
Sure. Right.
Um,
Right.
and so I kind of settled on like some 2-5-1s happening, like a minor 2-5-1 in F, but with C being the pedal the whole time.
Mm, mm,
B7 off.
mm, mm,
And then do that same
mm.
thing in C.
I love that move. Mm,
Now that's where the
mm.
kind of the church stuff comes in,
Love that.
that half diminished
Mm,
to the minor 6. And
mhm,
then I replicate that same relationship in A flat minor, in E flat pedal,
mhm, mhm.
then in E flat minor. So
Mm.
in a way, the B section is a lot like the A. We're just in different tonal centers. But
Yeah, I love it.
one of my favorite aspects of it is that the bass um, line just keeps descending. If you think about it,
Mm, mm,
it's gonna keep descending. Let's go to E flat.
mm,
So a few things happening
mm,
at
mm,
once.
mm, mm, mm. I love it. Mm. That's so rich. It's beautiful, man. Um, yeah,
Yeah, and let me know if I need to pull up the chart again or
yeah,
anything.
I love it. I have a couple of tunes that do similar things in different ways. Some of the like um, harmonic movement with the bass line
Yes.
moving, and then some of the like replicating in like a major third apart,
Yes.
major parallel major third away.
Yeah.
So it just yeah, it's totally resonant for me, man. I love it.
Hey,
Yeah,
thank you.
and what a beautiful, just beautiful melody. Hey, I've got an idea for you. Take it or
Yeah.
leave it. Um, but those evolutions that you started with, they're pretty different from what wound up being the melody and the tune, right?
Yeah.
But they don't sound like so far removed that it's like what the hell. So uh, I had this thought as soon as you started playing, man. That's a drum solo right there. Those are drum solo loops, right?
Ooh.
After
Yeah.
you go through this tune, uh, and or intro, like piano alone intro,
Right.
and then yeah, like do both, right? Do the one that sounds really in the box, then the one that's like, woo, shifting, and
Yeah.
then loop those for a drum solo a couple of times,
Oh man.
dude.
Yeah,
And
and
then
that
come
takes some
back to
pressure
this.
off me to blow over. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Uh,
just a
let's
thought.
see.
Woo.
Yeah. And
Oh
so
yeah.
what I like about that, if I had to see this composition currently as a color, it feels like a very dark purple of some sort.
Mm.
And the thing is, the harmonies sort of create a sense of movement in the piece, but I don't feel the color changing.
Mm.
And so if I sort of take your idea of like revisiting some of the older versions for maybe like a drum solo thing,
Mm.
that can, in my mind, brighten it up a little bit
Mm.
before we go back to that dark purple.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
That's, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I love it.
I like it.
Um, so there are a number of things we could unpack in this. Obviously,
Sure.
harmony, um, why you chose to be in 6/4, and what that, I don't know. And then for sure, like how your hands are laying on the piano.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like the same thing when I play a lot of the time. Oops. Need to reset that camera there. And yeah, let's bring that
There
to
we
the
are.
right place. All right. But you get the whoops. All right. You get this kind of voicing out of your chords. Um, hold on, I'm just gonna stop this share because now oh, there we go. Oh man, my technology is being silly. Let's make sure
Oh,
that's
you're
working.
good.
There we go. Everything needs a reset. um, yeah, I'm just gonna put that camera right here. So, oh, sorry. Uh, there we go. So you got like melody like up here, right? And
Yeah.
then like your voicings going on, whatever they are,
Yeah.
and then you've got like extra things going on in there
Yeah.
in the inner voices. So we could unpack some of that. What you're doing with that, I think it would be really cool
Ooh.
to yeah, just to check out some of that for you to really show us like, yeah,
Well,
this is my
let's,
chart, this is how I'm playing it. Because if I looked
yeah,
at
let's
that chart,
start with,
I was doing like kind of typical jazz uh style, I might play it like this, or whatever the chords are. I'm not actually looking at it, but you know what
right,
I'm
right,
saying.
right. Yeah.
So uh and I'm assuming that you are playing that now, not just as like a demonstration version, but that's really how you're going to play it.
Right, right. Well,
Is that right? Or are you going to change it when you have actually like when you have bass with you?
oh yeah. I guess in that regard, yeah, the answer to the question is yes and no. I am gonna play some alternative like figures and melodic lines and underneath the melody, just because I like more movement happening. I'm trying to embody more movement in my playing.
Uh-huh.
And also, um,
You going to leave
the
this
way
guy
I would
out of it
play
some?
it, just like a solo piano situation,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Really, what I'm trying to do is I want something happening all the time. It's in 6/8, and the reason why I picked, or 6/4 rather, but it has like that 6/8 vibe. I like cinematic music, and
Mm.
um, often the church music I play also has like a cinematic 6/8 type of vibe.
Mm.
The big cinematic drums and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
and so because everything is pointing toward just that singular term movement, then
Mm.
even if in the melody the melody is like sustaining a note, I don't want to ever feel like we're stopping.
Mm.
So I think that's why I employ some movement like underneath the melody, just so it feels like something's still happening.
Sure.
Um
So would you play through some, at least the beginning of it again?
Yeah,
And do you mind? Well, actually, can you do it once, just from that view, and then once with the chart up?
sure.
Thanks.
So maybe just that much. Is
Mm,
that cool?
sure. Mm,
And so my movement may not be exactly the same, every time I play it,
mm.
but there's almost like a response, a conversation happening between the hands.
Right. Would you put the chart on, and just once, and play through again so we can look at the chart while you play it?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's so cool. And you are playing it a little bit differently, if not significantly differently every time. But your melody's in the same range, right? You've got
Yeah.
one spot where you're playing the melody. So that does put like constraints on what else you're able to do.
Sure.
So why don't you just talk us through a little bit, like what you're doing, what you're saying. You were saying you like to have movement pretty consistently going on. So not just stagnant harmony with a melody happening over it is what I'm getting from that, right?
Right. Right.
Um,
So
yeah.
I guess the best way I could describe it is to contrast it with something you had done, and a point you had brought up. So I'm thinking
Yeah.
less like homophonically sometimes in terms of like melody and then some sort of chordal structure happening underneath it. And even though that is what I'm doing, I'm thinking like counterpoint light, you know. So not
Mhm.
full counter, not a full other line that's happening, but something that feels like another melody that's happening underneath the main melody. And I think an inspiration for that uh, could be like Thelonious Monk. When you think about how he plays, he may not be playing like thick suit voicings as you call them, like underneath like his melody. He rarely ever does that. He's doing
Right.
shells a lot
Shells,
of,
totally. Hmm.
and you realize, oh, well, if I do a shell, even if I did like a 2-5-1, without that C pedal.
Hmm.
Let me demonstrate that real quick.
Hmm.
Right,
Hmm.
G, C. Well, then I
Hmm.
realized there's so much potential within one of these guide tones
Right.
to create your own responsive melody.
Right. Yes.
So then, the same way you talk about like approaching different notes with a variety of half step techniques, one above,
Mhm.
one below, stuff like that. I'm doing that with like a guide tone
Yeah.
just to create more movement. And then there's just so much like different movement happening. It just feels different. So
Yeah, man.
it's a little fresher
Yeah.
than what we might expect from a normal jazz piano format.
Yeah. Right. Any and all of those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
I didn't pay close enough attention. I'm not being a good student.
No, you're right.
Yeah. Right. And so okay, cool. So this is like foundation of like hand placement that enables um this kind of inner voice stuff,
Yes.
right? When you play shells, it leaves some other fingers free,
Amen.
which is important. Okay, and then so talk us through like the first, you know, 5 bars and what you're doing. It, especially when you get to this one. What is it, the or is it B? I forget.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
One, you
That
had a
B
really cool
flat,
spot right there.
major seven.
Yeah. Oh, it. I think you did that in there. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a few ways to, I kind of think of, I don't know, I might be completely off when I say this, right? But when you think of like jazz styles, um, before bebop, right? Um, and you think about how oftentimes the major seven chord wasn't always like a standalone chord.
Mm-hmm.
It was really like the chord you play to really get to that major six chord. So it's like a little tension
Uh-huh.
and release.
Uh-huh.
7 to 6, the
Yep.
six is resolution. And so I kind of employed some of those strategies. Like, so even though the chart says B flat major seven, I'm using that sort of sensibility of harmony to create another opportunity for movement.
Mm-hmm.
And that sharp five, five, sharp five, the six is a common, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
movement within the music. So just trying to be investigative about different ways in which I can take chords I already know and isolate one or two notes of those chords and then find different ways to get to those notes I'm isolating. So let's experiment with something that's different, something different than other than what I've been doing.
Okay.
So I've been focusing on the third, or yeah, 7, 3,
Mm-hmm.
7, 6.
Mm-hmm.
So what if I start up here?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Now I'm hearing different.
Yeah. Right.
But
Then
what
you.
I like about this other melody is that it doesn't move too much. There's still a lot of sustaining happening.
So you
And
have room for counterpoint for, or
I
for
have
like
room for
interplay.
counterpoint,
Mm-hmm.
counterpoint that I actually hear and
Yeah.
isn't just finger dripping.
Yeah.
I have to think.
Did you say finger dripping?
Oh, finger driven.
Oh,
Sorry,
driven.
driven. Yeah,
Thought
finger dripping.
yeah, I thought that's a new term. Finger dripping.
Yes, the name of my new record, finger drip.
I like it though, right? It's like finger dripping, finger dripping. That's a good
Finger
one, man.
dripping. Yeah.
It's funny because I was just thinking about like you went like or something like that,
Yeah.
right? But I was also thinking about, yeah, when I do counterpoint and 2/5s like this, I love to get like the third against the two,
Yes.
right? And do like that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Or these kind of things. So like, right?
Hey,
That, you know,
straight up.
um, yeah, same chord progression. Sorry, but
That's all it is. But
yeah.
it even becomes like I'm trying to, because I play a lot of solo piano, not in public settings, but because I'm not playing with a lot of folks right now,
Mm-hmm.
given societal circumstances. Um, I'm I'm trying to find ways to sound consummate by myself, to sound just full and complete by myself.
Mm.
And so shell voicings have really just been like an answer for me. You're not playing a lot of notes, but you're getting a lot of mileage out of it. And you kind of let the listener fill in the notes that you're not playing.
Totally, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a reason. I mean, I start pretty much every jazz piano student on shell voicings.
Yes.
just 1/7s. If you can play 1/7s with everything, then we can get you in the 1/7 1/3s and 1/3 1/7s on the two
Yeah,
fives, right?
yeah, absolutely.
And then you can, you can fill in everything with your right hand. Plus, you can get 1/3 7s eventually.
Yeah,
And once you get that three note shape comfortable, then whatever it is, then you can easily jump off that because you got the third and seven. You can get your 3/7 9s, etc.
right.
Yeah.
I
So
wonder
yeah.
if we could. Sometimes as a teacher, I feel like I have to rush through things because
Mm,
I know that oftentimes students have something in their head they're going for.
mm-hmm,
Like, I want to play like Bill Evans. So
mm-hmm,
we got to skip ahead to all of those harmonic concepts. And it's like, but there's so much mileage we could get out of just these two notes. If we really, like, we could take a whole year and really explore how different players like dealt with shell voicings
mm-hmm.
in different ways that you can employ shell voicings into what you're hearing. Um, you mentioned, what did you say, 1/3 7?
Yep.
So I'm gonna take C dominant 7. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's like, man, we could play with like the flat 5, another like bebop innovation, right? Really
Mm-hmm.
making the flat 5 a thing. And now you got a little quirk in your dominant chord that you can add the sharp 5
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
And even though we're not playing the third, just these three notes are implying a whole sort of realm of sound that you get to play with. You can play some whole tony stuff, you can play some altered scale stuff. There's plenty of directions that can, that this voicing can give us,
Absolutely.
but we have to be open to that idea as well before we get into all this mid-range comping stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. But my tune to pray. I hope that was beneficial to somebody.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to hear that recorded. Okay, so I wanted to share with you a tune that I actually did record, and I thought I'll go ahead and play you the recording.
Woo.
Um, it's not released yet, but this is with Drew Heller, Gonzalo Tepa, and John Ellis on the saxophone.
Oh
So great.
gosh. Before
And
you play this,
mhm.
I do want to say, I'm gonna plug your new standards project. Sir, I can't get your version of Hallelujah out of my head. It's a
Hey.
solid earworm. Solid earworm. So brilliant.
Nice.
And time after
Thanks, man.
time. Both of those tunes. Yeah. So to anyone who's listening, go get that project.
Flash on screen.
Right.
Shameless promotion. Thanks,
Right.
man. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. I really appreciate that. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna share my chart and the computer sound, and then hopefully you will hear this. So this one's called Soul of the Matter. Just gonna play a second. You tell me if you're hearing it.
I can hear it.
Okay, great.
Can we zoom out on the score
On
a
the
little?
chart, yeah, or zoom like so we see the whole
Oh yeah,
first
yeah, cool.
page. Okay. And this, um, I chose this tune. It's a pretty accessible tune to the ear,
Yeah.
but it does have a lot of different places that it goes. Like it's got a couple of time signature changes and feel changes, and uh, and it definitely has different influences for me. Like the A section, it has a very kind of gospely uh, harmonic influence for me,
Yeah.
and then like the C section in particular is really kind of a Chick Corea kind of thing,
Wow.
homage to the master,
Yes.
um, and and then the D section is more of like kind of this modern jazz, very much contemporary jazz thing in five. So
Man, you
yeah.
gave us
Anyway,
a kitchen sink on this one.
yeah, check it out. Here you go. goes through the solo, so second time it goes over it.
Okay.
I'll just take you through so you can hear that's the cycle for the solos, etc. Yeah, it's fun. That's a fun tune.
Wow. So 20 bar form.
Oy, 20 bar form. Yeah, I don't know. Is that
Yeah.
right?
For the solos?
Oh, for the solos, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, right, because
Four times for that.
it's 16 of that 4 bars and then 4 extra. Yeah.
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 Looping it around.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh,
man.
I love how melodically driven. I think if you're gonna do stuff that has a lot of harmonic movement, I feel like a solid melody is the glue that puts all those chords together seamlessly. So I'm looking at that chart
Right,
and I'm
man.
like, "Ooh, this looks a little icky." Ooh.
Right, but the
But
melody's like
when I
right? I mean, like
or
that's
E flat major
yeah,
pentatonic.
man. Totally. Exactly.
Yeah.
Um and then again and then it gets a little bit interesting right here, right? What do we do? But even here, I do 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 da 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 do 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 da 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 do da 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 do do. That's all E flat major, right?
Yeah.
This is like B diminished to F minor. I like
Uh,
that move, like just a
taking
little
that.
unexpected, right?
Yeah. Oh, the way you got the G in that tune. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and then yeah, that transition, right? Oh, there's our set of
Yeah,
six
yeah,
minor.
yeah.
I love this move of like major to minor sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're on the right melody note, the 9 or the 5 or something. Right?
I
Just
think a
major to
Cherokee,
minor
great
is like,
Cherokee.
yeah, right. Right. And then you could go anywhere, right?
Right.
So then it's like, how about
Yeah, I felt like we were in E until you did that A minor 7. I'm like, oh,
oh yeah,
yeah.
right, and we could have been right, etc. Right, and then more major to minor, right? Major, minor, major. Get a little crazy. Get up, yeah. D flat major over G. Parallel. This is one of my favorite things to do, right? I overuse this though, so I have to be really careful about the parallel thing. Parallel majors, parallel minors,
Oh, I see. I see.
and then we're back to E flat major. right? Etc. Yeah.
You know, the way you described it, it felt like there were going to be I was going to hear three disparate sections,
Uh-huh.
but they seamlessly fit into one another. It's like
Mm.
how you do that. I was thinking, what tune was I listening to? There's this tune by this guitarist, and I might be saying his name wrong. Lage
Oh,
Lund?
La- uh, Lage. Yeah,
Lage. That's his
Lage
name?
Loon. Yeah.
Okay, Lage Lund.
Yeah, he and I went to Berkeley together.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I remember Lage. We played in one ensemble together. George Garzone. George used to turn off the lights and then and make us play, and then yeah, I was not good enough to be playing with Lage at that point. George would look at me like, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" I remember taking very little positive um, encouragement from that ensemble, but it was really cool to play with Lage. He was fucking badass.
Was he big into like pedals and stuff when you played with him?
I don't remember him being like doing a bunch of pedals in that group, but that's the only time we played, man. It was just one
Okay.
semester of meeting
Yeah.
for that combo, and then I think that was my senior year, and he still maybe had a couple of years or something at Berkeley,
Okay.
and I moved to New York, and I was part of a whole other scene when I went to New York. I mean, I did a little bit of jazz, but I was doing drum and bass and hip hop production and
What?
funk bands and uh, yeah, all that, all that other stuff. And I was like, my main like heaviest jazz stuff was playing with Yosvani Terry, who was Afro-Cuban cat.
Wow. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Um,
yeah,
where's Yosfani from?
Cuba, man. He
Okay.
lives in Boston now because he's teaching at Harvard.
Gosh.
Yeah, nuts,
Gosh.
man.
So much to
Crazy,
unpack right
crazy
there.
cat. I mean,
Um,
I think he lives in Boston. But he's full time at Harvard.
wow.
Yeah, he plays
Lage though.
musicians.
That's how you say his name.
Yeah.
Lage. Okay. Yeah, he has this tune off of this his latest record, I believe. It's called Terrible Animals. Um, and the tune is called Aquanaut. And I've been listening to it over and over, over and over. And there's like three sections. And what I love most about it is that compositionally, if you just isolate each section, they're like its own thing. But then the way he transitions from section to section, if you're not careful, you don't hear the transition. Even though there's different harmonic stuff happening, he changes from a section in 5 to a section in 4, but everything's seamless. And I just get that same feeling when I listen to this composition. It's just so beautiful. The C section has like a Glasper type of y'all ought to praise him type thing where there's like the pedal
Mm-hmm.
tone up top
Mm-hmm.
and everything's happening underneath it. Um, but it's like your own spin on it, and then the way you transition harmonically back to the first section when you go to, is it like a minor 7 flat 5 or something like that?
Um, yeah, let's see here. I'll pull up the chart again.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do a little bit of like full screen
Relying
share
on
for a
memory.
second. Oh, you cannot minimize Zoom when you're recording. Okay. There's uh there's the chart. I pulled up the Lage thing. See, we could listen to a second of that. It'd be fun.
Oh, nice.
Um, so you were saying at the end of the C section or at the end of the
Oh, the D section. Yeah, that's it. That was it. My bad.
uh, the D is the more Glasper kind of vibe.
Yeah, yeah, my bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess that A minor 7, but yeah,
The A flat minor 6, is that where you're hearing that?
yeah, that's when I feel
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And then that line is found in the first section, right?
Totally, totally. We
Okay.
played a little bit triplety sometimes because we wanted to be loose with that. That's fun. Yeah. Is right up here before the B section does the same thing, right?
When you write,
Mm-hmm.
just based on what I'm seeing now, and then conversations I've had with you, including this one,
Hmm.
you don't often feel a need to like solo over the same material that is stated in the melody. You
Right.
don't feel trapped by going like head, solo form that mimics the head, and then back to the head.
Right.
You
Yeah.
kind of
No, I
are
don't.
cool with just stating something, however intricate it may be, and then creating an other section that relates to what was said before, but isn't verbatim what was happening before.
Yeah. Right. And that totally depends on the tune, right?
Okay.
Sometimes the tune presents itself as like, oh, this is a great form, and changes to just play over, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like it's either like too complex. Like this one is too complex for me to play over. Not that I couldn't find a way to play over it,
Yeah.
but it's like, okay, I've already stated a melody, taken this journey through this, through the complexities of it, and now like what else would I do over it? I don't know. Like, do we really want to hear all that over again with me just like jamming on top of it? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's almost like the more complex the head,
Hmm.
uh, the more I have the urge to have a simplified blowing section where we can take a
Yeah.
different kind of journey, right?
Yeah.
And if the head is simple enough, then it's like great to play over.
Man.
It's funny, huh? I never
Yeah.
thought about that kind of inverse relationship, but
Well, I'm
yeah.
stealing it. I'm running with it. I'm gonna make an inverse chart, and I'll call it the Stoltzman composition inversion.
So, I was thinking about the similarities between what
Okay.
we're doing.
Yeah.
Um, so we're both playing melody up here, right? Integrated melody into our chord voicings. Whoops, sorry. Yeah. Also, like a lot of shells, right? Left hand shells, right? This is all the same thing. When I get down this low, I tend to do a 1-5 instead of a 1-7.
Yeah.
Right? We've got the C7 right here with the 1-3, right?
Straight up.
This is all
What is that?
1-7 shells, basically. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, G minor 7 flat 5 to F minor.
But do you have a B flat in there?
Oh yeah, I mean I did that.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Okay.
that's a fun chord, right? In that moment, it's fun. Yeah, this is such a great chord. That dominant 7 with a flat 5,
Yes.
just purely there. Like it's so monk and like Duke, you know.
That's all.
Um, sorry, what were you saying?
No, that I said that's all I'm saying right there. There's so much juice just in that configuration, that flat five.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole world in and of itself.
Totally right. You were saying like this guy right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same vibe, right? And you can go, down. You can go, or there, right?
Right.
Whew. This is unexpected, but it still works, right? It's interesting, isn't it?
I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
Um, it feels like the harmonies you chose
Mm-hmm.
and the voicings you're playing seem kind of connected to one another in a way that, like, if you don't play these exact voicings, you may not get that same feeling.
Well, that's part of what I was driving out with looking at how you were playing too, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like if we just played it like or shit. I mean, it could be, right?
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. It's all that's all possible, but
Yeah.
definitely the integrated approach is like this is a solo piano approach, right?
Right.
It's obviously like this is a thing that I do, and sometimes I feel like I do this too much, maybe, where it's like I'm gonna play this no matter what, and the bass player is gonna play with me, and I
Yeah.
think it's a little bit confining for bass players sometimes. Although I
Mm.
don't know that Gonzalo ever feels confined. He just plays
Nah.
whatever. But
I just want to
this
get
is
that.
huh. I like to put the 6 and the 7 together right there.
Okay. So where I really want to go is not that it matters. Like if you never did this in your life, the piece speaks for itself. You have a documented version of it with amazing musicians. But if we wanted to experiment with a different texture of playing just that beginning
Mm.
solo, what are some different ways we could just make
Mm-hmm.
like
Right. Like, well, what about integrating some of that stuff you were talking about with like, with some inner voice movement?
okay,
Because this doesn't really have it until a little bit later in the in the B section. I have a couple of inner voice things going on in my left hand thumb, but so like um. Oh, listen. You know. Hmm. It happens too fast, so I gotta slow it down. All right.
wow. Oh, I'm taking that.
Yeah, it's nice, huh? Yeah. Mm.
So can we isolate one voice
Yeah,
that we're gonna create like a counter melody with?
sure.
So even
Super.
which
So maybe if we have like just ba 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 ba, we could go like dee da dee da dee something,
okay,
like 8 notes in the left hand.
okay.
So like dee da dee da, dee da. Ooh. Maybe we go back up.
Ooh, you got me thinking.
Yeah. Let me think about this.
So
Ooh. Ooh, I love that one. I love this chord right here.
yeah.
Ooh. Ooh. It goes to D flat though.
So what if we never get to the A flat minor six proper, but really it's just uh really just a seraphim third of the
Yeah, like that. Yeah. I love that. Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
So
Hmm.
now, can I come up with another one?
Yeah. We could change the bass notes too, really.
Okay, what
I
do you mean by that?
suppose, I suppose we don't have to, we could imply a different harmony.
Over that melody?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Ooh. I love that right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the possibilities are endless, of course.
Ooh.
Ooh, what did you just do?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
And
Cool.
then if I could create, this is the last thing I'll say.
Yeah.
If I could find a way to give the same feeling of every chord that you composed,
Mm-hmm.
but with only 3 or 4 notes,
Mm-hmm.
it
Yeah,
won't
you
sound
would.
as full. But if the listener can fill in the dots,
Mm-hmm.
what was the first chord?
B flat. Yeah.
Okay. So just the way my brain works, I'm gonna come up with the
Mm-hmm.
voicing first, and then I'll come up with the movement later. Ooh, this will be fun. Uh, yeah. So what did I do here?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
ah,
Mm.
yeah. And so you get very interesting sonorities that you wouldn't have otherwise played. But
Yeah,
cool.
because you stripped out some of the extra,
Mm-hmm.
and then that allowed more space
Yes.
to have movement inside. I love it, man. It's almost like a philosophical approach
Yes.
as well as technical.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I dig it. I hope that some pianists have stuck around through this whole episode and heard that, because that's a very insightful uh yeah, moment right there. Hmm.
Yeah. Like I just know me, and the blessing of my background in church is that I learned a lot of shapes. I learned a lot of chords that mean a lot to me, and I can use them in functional ways. But no one was telling me, like, hey, do you hear every note of every shape that you play?
Mm-hmm.
Or is that just like one composite thing?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just doing some reverse engineering as to like when I play my voicings that I know and love, what's the meat, what's the fat,
Mm.
what could stay or what has to stay, and what could go while still giving the same essence of it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Not because I want a thinner sound, but I'm just going for the kaleidoscopic counterpoint. And in order for me to do it effectively and not a caricature of it, I have to commit to the line, like slower moving lines, faster moving lines, the counterpoint of two lines moving in conjunction with one another, and what that looks like. Even the piece I'm playing now, my composition, I'm trying to find ways like
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm.
oh yeah, that's all I got right now.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
that's
I
where I'm at.
mean, the mental state that you have to have to um to both imagine those things in the moment and to execute them
Oh man,
is deep, man.
yeah.
It's really impressive that you can do that. Um,
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know that I can, but I know that that's where
just
I'm
did.
headed. I'm headed.
Yeah, I mean,
And if I
it's
can get lines the same way I get my shapes,
mm,
I'll be good.
mm. Yeah, it's one thing to do that, I guess, out of context and able to think about it and slow things down. It's another to be like on a gig,
Right,
playing a tune, whether it's something that you've wrote or a standard, and still integrate that kind of approach. Um, yeah, it's part of what I love playing about standards that I'm really familiar with is
hmm
that it's like, okay, let's deconstruct this, right?
yes,
Let's deconstruct my technique and the way I'm playing the melody plus what I'm doing in my left hand,
right,
and sometimes we get going and I'm back to kind of standard playing and standard shapes, but
right.
it's
But
really fun.
the beauty of that is that with melodies, and I would recommend that anyone who wants to incorporate more lines into their playing start with pieces that you don't have to think about playing to
Right.
play. Because then I'm going to take all the attention away from my right hand because I know it'll be there.
Mm,
So, what am I hearing while I play this melody? And then
mm-hmm.
just focus on getting that out. But yeah, don't start with something that is so far removed from your reality. You want to start with something that you're so comfortable with, you can do it in your sleep so that you have this mental capacity to think about something else at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. um I don't know that I have like any great insight on how to practice this stuff, but it would be an interesting thing to get into. Um, I do have one thing that I wanted to say, which is that for me, like the cooking analogy
Yeah.
is always like right on the cusp of what I'm thinking about in terms of jazz, and I totally see it with what we were talking about too. You know, you mentioned in my term that I like to use thick soup, right?
Yeah.
And I like to pour the heavy cream in there, man, and
Yeah.
like double notes and add twos and fours and whatnot. And when I'm playing this, like I'll play it literally like that, where it's super thick. It's like every note that I can play in there, or maybe even like this. So I got 1 4 7, then I got 2 4 5 6 melody, and then like this, like everything on top of the there. Or sometimes even like that, right? Whatever it is. So, um, uh, that's like, I mean, I really like that. It resonates for me,
Yeah.
um, but also like sometimes it's just um, sometimes it's nice to not have all those ingredients or all that thick, heavy cream. You know, it's
Yeah.
nice to just have like a little plate of like deconstructed, beautiful ingredients, and each one sings. Each one has its own distinct flavor, and instead of like a fucking like amazing casserole, but like everything's just in there, like
Coagulated
dominated
together
by
into
a,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's like, oh, I can like taste the the citrus in here from the whatever, and the and the each ingredient has its own thing. So I'm thinking about like really nice gourmet, modern gourmet foods, and
Yes.
you know stripped down French cuisine plate with this like a big old plate and like a little thing in the middle, like one strip of sauce or something, or on
Yeah.
the side like dots of different sauces.
Yeah.
I see that with these, with like stripping down the chords to like, okay, where are our essential notes that we want to have, and then each one, we're like almost like respecting and honoring each note and what journey it can individually take,
Right.
and then collectively like how those blend, right? And if you care for that, or if you enter a process with those notes with care,
Hmm.
you know etc., right?
Yeah.
It can be a totally different approach than that, but just as like sophisticated and beautiful and engaging, compelling.
How
It's
would
a lot of
you?
words.
No, it's great. It's great. What if you had to play the instrument as if you were a string quartet?
Yeah.
How would you want that string quartet
Mm,
to sound?
mm, mm,
Now, this is all I got. I don't listen to string quartets a lot. I just know that they're not all playing at the same time. There's some contrary motion happening. There's some interweaving of lines that create this like composite texture that's just beautiful. But when you think of it, it's still four people
mhm,
playing their
mhm,
individual part to be a part of a greater whole, if you will.
mhm,
And like treating our fingers like that, just as a mental exercise,
mhm.
you'll find that you're going to play stuff that you don't normally play. That doesn't mean it's going to sound good, but you're just playing stuff that you wouldn't normally play, and putting yourself through this process where you're going to get some different results, and then from that you can choose not to ever do it again. But I think you're still better for it. So maybe we should maybe in a few weeks, I would love to take stuff like hymns
Mm,
or nursery rhymes or
mm,
the simplest of jazz melodies and put them through different textural processes. Like, what if we
mm.
only played? I think you told me this one time. Play
Yeah.
a ballad with one note in one hand and one note in the other.
Versus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
um yeah, I love it. Yes, ballad with one. This was a Tom McKinley thing, man. Etc., right?
Tom
um
McKinley.
Tom McKinley, he was a
Okay.
mentor of mine, and incredible musician, absolute titan of a musician, incredible jazz pianist, who became focused on composition almost entirely
Mm.
in the latter half of his career. Taught at New England Conservatory for many years, was the head of the composition department there for a little while.
Yikes.
And yeah, it, he, he was a very eccentric man, but he had he had a huge influence on me,
Wow.
for sure. Um, and yeah, anyway, I'll never forget that lesson. He was like, I think I was learning in a sentimental mood,
Mm-hmm.
and um, he was like, "Can you just play this? The melody and the bass notes." And when he did it, man, woo, it sounded so good. I was like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
wait, but what about this? I'm supposed to do this, right? Right?" And he's like, "Okay, hold on. You got to really mean everything that you're saying with the melody, and like, forget about these chord voicings for a minute." Right?
Hmm. Ooh.
Just be able to really mean it.
With
Yeah,
two notes,
it was a deep,
two voices,
deep
rather.
lesson. Yeah,
Tom McKinley. I'm
yeah.
gonna check him out.
It's probably a good place to start, actually, right? Is the two
Yeah.
notes, and then build in with the left hand shell, what's possible with that,
We got
and
three.
or with the right hand thumb,
Yeah.
right? Right. Etc. Right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Cool, man. Well, so many possibilities. I think we opened some fun doors, and uh, we'll do it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. This was fun. This is
Yeah,
fun.
man. Thank you
Gospel
so
meet
much.
jazz, everybody.
All right, Solomon. Take care, dude.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.